Still muted there, Jenny. I think in the StreamYard.
I was
There you are.
muted. Okay. Hey, everybody, I come to you beyond 2 layers of muting magic. I'm just trying to silence me to say hello to chat and hello to my star friends. How are y'all doing?
Excellent. How are you?
I'm great.
I'm great, other than the usual glitch gremlins that are plaguing our team all the time. Jessica, weren't you having tech issues earlier today? Are you still holding up okay?
I mean, it's working so far.
We got to get them all out of the way.
I had to close everything else on this computer. I have nothing. Just this is open, and we're working on it.
Of course, so good. Jessica's in her her stream mech. She's got like everything is just in front of her is the screen. She can't see chat. She can't tell anything else. So I'm gonna have to be her eyes and ears and be the moderator today for this panel. So anyway, hi everyone. I am Jenny Jarzabski, the Starfinder Creative Manager. I am here to moderate, not GM, but to moderate this panel, which is a similar skill set. And I have brought some of my teammates with me who I will let introduce themselves. Let's see who can get to it first. Roll initiative.
Hey, I'm Jessica Catalan, Senior Developer here at Paizo and head of the Starfinder Society.
And I'm Mike Kimmel. I'm a Senior Developer on the Starfinder team.
Awesome. All right, so we've introduced ourselves. Some of you may know us. Some of you may be like, who are these people talking to me right now? So quick quiz to chat, since this is a live panel. How many of you are Pathfinder players who are just here for the new hype? Like you just want to hear about this like crazy space game that you've been wanting to play, and now it finally has compatible rules. Oh, speaking of that, I see some of our other teammates. I see Kitsune Warlock, who is Dustin Knight, a Starfinder designer on the team, who's not on this panel today, but everyone say hi to him. He's super awesome. I see a couple people in chat who are saying they are Pathfinder players coming over to check out Starfinder. That is super awesome. Welcome to space. All right, how about my Starfinder players? Like, let me see, type Starfinder in chat or just SF if you're here just because you're just like a longtime Starfinder fan and you're like, we didn't need that planet. It's fine. SF1, I see it. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah. SF, I guess, says on-call GM. Hi, Thirsty.
Yes, also hello. There's another amazing coworker in the chat. There's our associate publisher and former Starfinder creative director, Thurston Hillman. Say hi to him as well. Haha, I'll call you both out, even if you're not here, and that's fine. All right. So more Paizo folks in the chat. Anyway, so good to see everyone here to talk Starfinder. So since most of you are Starfinder veterans, that means I can speed run this next bit a little bit. So I do want to talk, though. I do want to do kind of an intro to the Starfinder setting for you. So Starfinder is a science fantasy setting. It explores the Desna's Path galaxy, which is a massive galaxy full of wonders and peril, all centered around this little place called the Path Worlds. Long ago, this was a system, a star system that we called the Galarian system because there was a very special and very action-packed planet there called Galarian. However, something happened to Galarian. Nobody's really sure what happened there. In fact, the whole time period is missing from everyone's memory conveniently, and we call that the gap. But somehow, after this mysterious time period, long after the era of the Pathfinder role-playing game ended, everybody woke up with no memory of how a whole world disappeared, or even what this world was, what it was called. They had vague, nagging memories, but they had no clue. And also that there was a Magitech space station revolving around the sun in its place, called Absalom Station. And this had a very powerful artifact called the Starstone that allowed very fast travel in a few years when the machine god would release a signal allowing everyone to jump into hyperspace, which we call the drift. It's its own plane. So you can see here, please mind the gap. You can see here our wonderful map. So if you want to tell adventures in the galaxy and play through those adventures, you definitely need to know the setting. So we have actually some tools prepared for you. I'm going to skip ahead to the galaxy guide. That is something that I actually heard being talked about a little bit in the videos previous. Oh yeah, you can see right here our Galaxy Guidebook. So this in and of itself is not an adventure, but it has a lot of great tools to make adventures happen. Mike or Jessica, do y'all want to talk a little more about some of the tools you can find in this book?
Mm-hmm. I always say that, a lot of the time a role-playing game will have a setting primer. I think of this also as kind of an adventure primer, right? Because of the way that we've structured the book. It's set up so that it doesn't go necessarily like region by region through the galaxy. It goes by adventure type, right? So horror adventures, dystopian adventures, high-tech adventures, and obviously some of these areas overlap. But it's more kind of a primer on the different kinds of stories you can tell in the Starfinder galaxy. And then it goes into detail about the kinds of planets and places and people who are involved in those kinds of stories. And so if you're making a character for a horror adventure, it's got the horror backgrounds that are in there for you. If you're GMing a high-tech adventure, you know kind of what areas of space to look into. Jessica, do you have any other stuff to add?
Yeah, it also has a lot of information on some major factions in the setting, so you can really take a look at like not just the movers and shakers on the places that you're going or the types of stories you'll be in, but also from those big groups that kind of influence the galaxy.
Yeah, I don't know if it's possible, Rue. We're kind of going out of order. It's always how we are. I don't know if it's possible to cue the factions art that we have, but Galaxy Guide has, like I mentioned, it is a setting primer. As Mike said, it is an adventure primer, but it also just has a lot of great tools like oh gosh, there's some super cool art. Yeah, sorry, you're seeing all the art pieces. There we are. So it's got some super cool things like right here. This is actually a visual we created, but it has all of these symbols and write-ups for major and minor factions in the galaxy. So you and players can look at that and you can say, okay, I want to play, we're going to have a horror adventure, right? All right, so we know, here's the planets. Like Mike said, that's how our book's organized. So you just go to horror adventures and say, where in the galaxy is a great place to be creepy and, have my players explore these themes. Maybe I want to go to Eox and do like an undead adventures kind of thing. More on that later, actually, speaking of that. Maybe you want to tell some cosmic horror story about the newborn or about the Riven Shroud, where strange creators are coming back to reclaim their bizarre shadowy creation. Nothing weird going on there. But basically you can pick where you're going to go and then you can say, all right, what factions are interested in that? And what factions do my players like? And what would those factions want to do in these locations? Would they want to contain the abominations or would they want to derive eldritch power from them? Maybe if they're xenowardens, they just want to restore the natural ecosystem, and those are probably invasive predators that need to be handled in some way. So you can kind of start building your adventure, whether you're running one of the adventures we'll talk about in just a moment. We have a lot of pre-made adventure goodness for you, or whether you do want to homebrew or mix up some Pathfinder adventures with some spacey goodness. So what if I want to play Starfinder right now? Is there a way that people can do that? I will answer my own question actually, and I will say yes, there is actually, because even though we are releasing our player core and starting our big launch in August, we already have Starfinder Adventures out. Now they are playtest adventures, so there are a few things. You have all the playtest rules still available to use. There will be maybe some little minor differences and some things that have been streamlined or improved whenever the final book comes out in August, but they are very fun. They are playable with the rules that you already have for free. You can find that PDF still on Paizo.com. So we have these short little adventures. If you just want to get a taste for it, or you just want to like send your party, like your Pathfinder or Starfinder 1 party wants to just try out a little one shot. Here's all the options. You're going to see some familiar names there. Do either of you want to talk about the adventure you wrote?
I would love to talk about all 4 of those if I can be a hog here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, go for it. I've done that long enough.
Our 4 Starfinder playtest scenarios, they're each standalone. They're each one-shots. They're going to run between 2 to 3 hours in length. For the low-level ones, with the higher level 2 on the end, they're running longer. The first one is Shards of the Glass Planet. That is a first contact adventure for first-level characters written by Mike Kimmel right above me there. There is number 2 there. It Came from the Vast, written by myself. This is a spooky exploration of a Xenowarden starship for 5th level characters. There is Wheel of Monsters. This is a game show where you're fighting dangerous monsters for quick cash or a painful death. This is for 10th level characters, written by Dustin Knight. And the last one on the end there is Rescue at Shimmerstone. Very wrong. This is for 15th level characters and is written by Jenny Jarzabski. This one also has some connections to the Newborn, which is a new god in our setting for 2nd edition, which is extra fun.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that. We also do have a couple of longer options, which are for 1st level, we have A Cosmic Birthday, which is one that I wrote. That's another playtest adventure. More consequences of the Newborn are taking hold of Absalom Station. We also have Empires Devoured. You can see those here. That's by Thurston Hillman, our amazing associate publisher. It is for 10th level characters who are caught up in the first stages of an Atlanti-Vescarium conflict that is quickly escalating into full-scale war. Uh-oh. We also have some other options coming soon, though. So that wraps up what you can play right this moment. But you've just got a sneak preview of what is coming up. Although, wait, there is one thing I forgot in my excitement to talk about all of the launch beginning in August. Jessica and Mike, do you have something you'd like to talk about?
Well, I had the pleasure of developing another adventure written by Jessica Catalan right here, which is our June free RPG Day release, Battle for Nova Rush, which is a 16-page adventure for first-level characters. This adventure includes pre-generated characters, our beloved iconics, 4 of our beloved iconic characters. It's got Chick, Day, Navasi, and Isef, who are our Mystic, Solarian, Envoy, and Operative. You can, of course, play your own characters in this adventure if you want, but if you want to hop right in with the pre-gens, that's okay too. And spoiler alert, if you may have heard about the Sunrise Maiden, the iconic starship from 1st edition, may have had a little bit of an issue recently in another adventure we just talked about. And so we have a new iconic starship, the Nova Rush, that was fully mapped out and everything by our own Kent Hamilton here in-house. And Jessica wrote an adventure that takes place on the Nova Rush. And Jessica, would you like to speak a little bit about the fun and exciting characters you meet and things you get to do?
Yeah, so the Nova Rush has been captured by nefarious space pirates. So you start as a captive on the brig of a pirate starship in this one, and I am very excited for this. You have a chance to attempt your escape when the starship is attacked by the corpse fleet. So seize your chance, try to befriend some of the other people on the ship if you can. There's lots of fun characters in here. And wrestle back control of the Nova Rush from pirates. See if you can escape with your lives. You may not have to punch everything in this adventure. There's some friendly faces and some less than friendly faces. But I mean, I guess if you want to, no judgment. And the map, when you have a chance to see the map, there's lots of interesting details and a lot of personality packed into the Nova Rush's map in this. It was really fun to engage with while writing this adventure.
It's really exciting because in a lot of ways, this adventure, Battle for Nova Rush, really sets the scene for a lot of the future Starfinder content going forward, since you'll be able to come up with your own starships and customize them. And in the future, when we have our tactical starship combat ready to deploy for you, you will certainly have way more options that we will talk more about then, of course. But right now, this is a glimpse at here is our iconic starship. You can see what it looks like. You get to explore it. You get to take over it, fight for it. It's really cool. So really cool lore wise, and just cool in a lot of ways.
If I can add to that, Jenny, you said really cool lore wise. I think one of the cool things about A Cosmic Birthday and Empires Devoured as well is that these are playtest adventures, so you can play them right now with your playtest rulebook, but there's nothing stopping you from playing these a year from now or 2 years from now. If you missed out in the playtest window, you want to play through the stories later on. These are big, impactful, like big setting events, right? The newborn and the Vesk Aslanti conflict that's brewing. And so why not play the stories whenever you get around to them once the game releases? These are kind of going to be relevant for a long time.
Yeah, and there are, between the playtest adventures that are currently available for purchase and download, those are already obviously set in stone. They are earlier versions of the rules that we have been perfecting, so you may notice a few little differences here and there, maybe little errors, or oh hey, this is not how they present the magazine and the the expenditure of ammunition in the current stat blocks, and that's just growing pains due to that being a playtest adventure, but it's not unusable. They have everything you need to run them. The changes that we did make were more tweaking the player classes and figuring out how we want to present information to you. The basic rules of the game didn't really shift in the playtest because they work with Pathfinder Second Edition rules, which is amazing. So those are always going to be useful, evergreen adventures you can play, just like Mike said. Thank you, Mike. All right. But we have a lot more coming. So after Battle for Nova Rush, that's another fun little taster. We have a little bit more of an entree, so to speak, after those hors d'oeuvres. And we have something I'm personally very excited about for a lot of reasons, some of them a little selfish, is Murder in Metal City, which is our deluxe first level adventure. It was written by myself, and it was developed by Mike Kimmel, who also concepted a lot of the adventure and did a lot of work to make some really awesome GM tools and player handouts. So Mike, do you want to talk a little bit to start us off about Murder in Metal City?
Yes, Murder in Metal City, which fondly has had a project folder on my computer for a long time called Project Murder Box, because we knew it was going to be a box set adventure and we knew it was going to be a murder mystery. And then eventually Jenny came up
with Murderbot.
Yeah,
Murder
not
box.
Murderbot, Murder Box. Eventually Jenny came up with this delightful title, Murder in Metal City. So this is it takes place on Abalon, which is the home world of Anacytes. It's kind of this machine world, right? It's in the high-tech adventures section of Galaxy Guide. And it starts off with characters. There are pre-gens in this box, which might not surprise you. These are new characters, all brand new characters who we have not seen before. Here's one of them right here. This is Lunar 17, an android who is kind of a detective and a mystic.
Ooh, I love her vibe. She's so cool
Yeah.
looking.
These characters all receive a message from a mutual acquaintance and meet up in a sort of neon lit bar surrounded by androids and robots and aliens of all kinds. They go expecting to meet their friend, but instead they're given a holographic recording that says, "Greetings, friends. If you're watching this, it's because I've experienced an unexpected shutdown. In organic terms, I'm dead." So you all meet up and you realize that your friend is deceased. And then laser blasts start going off and the excitement begins, and there is a murder mystery to solve. So it's a very exciting, filled with all kinds of foes to outwit and evade, and people to track down, and people to talk to, and plenty of combat as well. As you go about Avalon and the city of striving, this metal city, and try to solve this mystery.
Yeah, and here we have a street view of Striving, which is one of the cities in Avalon. It is the metal city where the murder occurs and where you spend most of your time. They're not all. There is a little bit of an expedition or a field trip outside the city. But yeah, it was just a blast to get to really pull back the curtain on Avalon, which is one of our major planets. People have always, like, it's a packed world. It's in the core of our setting. It's always been very unique in that it is a machine paradise that was, years and years ago. I mean, centuries, eons ago, it was seeded by this mysterious group known only as the First Ones. Nobody knows if that was an ancestry, a culture, a civilization, and what they wanted or what they were doing. But what they did do was build robotic servitors to work on this planet, and they left them there, and they gave them the capabilities to kind of upgrade themselves, and they never returned. And for years, these anacytes is what they now call themselves, are soulless machines that have personalities and free will that were originally created to do very specific jobs or even fulfill ecosystem roles, but have upgraded and changed themselves. And it's very interesting. I've always really liked this world a lot for the themes, the high-tech themes, the interesting existential questions one can pose about what's the nature of humanity, or in this term, when you're not a human, like self or being. It's really interesting and fun. I've said interesting like 3 times. I hope you find it as interesting as me. But if you're not sold on it, though, we're actually going to have a little preview of it for you today. In fact, I think it's right after this panel. I am going to run a special little sneak peek event at a casino in Striving. It is a robot casino, and you might meet people like this. Lucky compilation of numbers is this fun little gambler robot. I think we've got the art for
it's up.
There he is. I love this little guy. Yeah. So if you want to check that out, I'll be running that later. I'm also running a few special sessions of it tomorrow for people. So I'm not sure if there's any openings left, but check that out on the schedule, and it is possible you could still grab a ticket for that. Otherwise, check out the stream, check out the video later. But any final words on Murder in Metal City, Mike?
We didn't talk much about what makes it premium and like why a box set. There's all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, let's do that.
You've got pre-gen handouts. You've got a whole bunch of like investigation handouts for the GM to give to the players as they discover things. You've got like cards with NPC art on them. You've got item cards to hand out. You've got little combat tokens that you could put on a map. You've got a combat flip mat for a couple of the combat locations that are in the adventure. So there's a lot packed into the box. It's kind of supposed to be everything you need to run this adventure. And another thing I love about it is how much advice that Jetty included, as it is a first level adventure that's like, hey, is this your first adventure that you're running in this system? Here's like some tools and guidance and stuff like that. So you don't need to be overwhelmed by like also referring to GM core all the time or in a creature book and all these things. Like it's all right in there and tells you how to run it. So
yeah, and what it doesn't tell you, it tells you where to look. Also, it is in a box, as Mike mentioned. Like, it is literally the book, and all of these tools are packed into a sturdy little box with the art. It's really nice. It has the full cover wrap on it, so that'll stand really sturdy, and collect all of it in a bookcase or wherever you have that. It also, I have been informed that it does in fact fit the combat tracker that we're releasing. The Starfinder 2 initiative tracker fits in the box. So maybe you can fit a set of dice in there too, and then you just have your little travel pack. That's pretty neat.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's your first level adventure. And as Mike mentioned, that is really a deluxe experience. You're going to just really get to learn your character, explore that setting, that part of the setting rather, on Avalon, solve a mystery, meet a lot of really weird characters, and be weird characters, let's be real. But when you're ready to level up, it's time to move on. You can play Guilt of the Grave World, which is an adventure path, a bit of a longer adventure in one book that takes characters from level 1 to level 5. So it'll probably take groups. It could take groups, mini sessions of playing games together to complete. So there's plenty of content in here. You can see it here, Guilt of the Grave World, with our amazing Zoe on the cover. Everybody knows Zoe, and if not, you better get to know him. So Zoe would like you to know Guilt of the Grave World by Michael Bramnick is a special adventure because you get to visit the Grave World, aka Eox, which is our planet in the Pact World of undead. Don't you want to go there for a nice little holiday? Look at that. Oh, shush, you're running it. Well, that's okay. You know what? It doesn't really start out like that. Nothing does. You actually start out working for a dwarf mining company called Ulrika Clan Holdings. So you get a job to go check out an asteroid because, dwarves are always mining those asteroids, and you get on out there, and before you know it, there's something weird with that asteroid, and the corpse fleet are getting involved. They're attacking. They're trying to get in your business, and that all, without involving spoilers for the plot, that all leads you back to the Grave World, where you enjoy a lovely vacation and then a fun and possibly lethal adventure. So this will also be one where Nova Rush, our iconic starship, will be making another appearance, as you'll get a chance to test out some cinematic starship combat. That is essentially, as I've mentioned before, we are working on our tactical starship combat, but we do have a system that is very, very easy to use, especially once you know how to play Starfinder 2, or if you play Pathfinder 2 already. It is incredibly easy. It is patterned after complex hazards, essentially, with a little bit of extra oomph to it. And it is whether you need to have a starship chase through an asteroid field, or a dogfight between a couple of ships, maybe a rush to land an atmosphere while a ship is trying to shoot you down. These are all things that are possible, and you'll get to see some examples of that right before GM Core comes out later in the year. So that's actually a special sneak preview. You'll get to be some of the first people to play it if you check out Guilt of the Grave World. And like I said, though, we do have a more traditional tactical starship combat that we are working very hard on right now, and we are going to get that out to you as soon as we can. Just need more time to cook on that. Trust me, you want us to have a little more time on that one. All right. So those are some of our big adventures, but what about most of our adventures are actually short adventures that can be played in a couple of hours. A lot of times they're one shots, or maybe they're episodes in a larger plot. And these all happen in the Starfinder Society. So Jessica, why don't you tell us about your plans for Starfinder Society in 2E?
Yes, Starfinder Society Second Edition launches in August 2025 with Invasion's Edge. This is a brand new organized play program for up to 10th level characters. Each year, we're going to be releasing 26 adventures. These are Starfinder Society scenarios. So 4 released this August, with 2 releasing every month afterward. Each Starfinder Society scenario is standalone. It's a 2 to 3 hour adventure designed for 4 to 6 players of a specific 2-level range. This year, our first year, you can expect a lot of adventures for levels 1 to 2, for levels 3 to 4, with a few level 5 to 6 adventures later down the road. Many of our scenarios are interconnected, and they form a wider story taken together, which is our meta plot. So this year, that meta plot is Invasion's Edge, which is what we get this lovely art from. And there's our season symbol. An alien starship has crash landed on the planet Akaton, spilling dangerous robots, alien monsters, and volatile magic into the region. Believing this starship, which is the wreck of the Returned, is the first step in an alien invasion, the Starfinder Society sets out to explore the wreck of the Returned and put an end to this threat. So there's a picture of the wreck of the Returned. If you're interested in getting some information beforehand, you can check out Galaxy Guide in the high-tech section and take a look. You'll find it in there. We may have a connection to the first ones if you're interested.
It's weird in there.
It is weird.
Real
I'm
weird.
excited. Invasion's Edge also launches with a free player's guide. So this is a PDF that's free. You can download on Paizo.com. It contains all the information you need to get started playing in the Starfinder Society Second Edition Organized Play program. It has some important lore information on the Starfinder Society in-world, so that anything you kind of need to know or big news, you will know. The information's there for you. It's really easy. And then it also contains unique backgrounds, which you can use to make your characters. And it has 2 new ancestries in there. So that is Ikeshtis and Shobads, who are both ancestries from the planet Akaton. For more information on Starfinder Society, because I could talk about this forever, you can check out the Organized Play panel, which aired right before this panel did. You can also go to the Starfinder Second Edition rollout blogs, which is on Paizo.com. Or you can ask me all of your questions about Starfinder, Starfinder Society, and anything else you want on the Paizo Events Discord server, as I haven't asked me anything, Fred.
Jessica, the people demand spoilers. So can you give us like, let's have, give us like the pitch for Ikeshti and Shobad. Also, just for the Pathfinder players in the audience, y'all are awesome. We love you too. And we want y'all to know what these cool things are.
So Ikeshtis are small reptilian people. They've got red scales. They're kind of hardy. They're resolute. They're passionate. They have a knack for invention and finding new purposes for old and damaged objects. One of my favorite things you can do with an Ikeshti was one of the Speeder Heritage is shoot blood from your eyeballs, which is just really weird and cool. I love it. Shobads are large 4-armed giants. They are determined. They're stoic. They're proud. They're kind of nomadic wanderers and kind of intense survivalists. If you want to play something that is really good up close and personal, you probably want to take a look at Shobads. They're kind of built for it. They're good.
Yeah, that's so exciting. I know people people have been asking, is the cantina still open? And, are we going to have all of these aliens to play? And yes, you will. It is going to take us some time to match the breadth that Starfinder had and Starfinder 1 had. And we may never have quite as many, but we're going to try, dang it. We're going to try.
I love ancestries. We're going to toss them in everything.
We are. I mean, even Guilt of the Grave World and Murder in Metal City have new ancestry options. So we're cramming them in wherever we can, right?
Oh yeah, what are the new ancestry options in Murder in Metal City? Let's talk
You've
about
got the Kizar, which is a plant-like ancestry that lives in a region of the Abalon is this giant planet covered in metal and all these cities and everything, and otherwise pretty barren, but it has these cool places called ice wells, which are these kind of frozen jungle environments deep beneath the surface. And there's Kizars who have migrated there from elsewhere in near space and live down inside the ice wells. And one of them is one of the pre-gens you can play, in fact, and we included rules for you to make your own Kizar characters. Yeah, there we are. That's Old Growth Wildfire.
Oh, there he is.
He's a soldier.
Kizars are also something that existed in Starfinder First Edition. So for people saying, oh, like, character art, where will I find it? Well, we are trying to include art of all of our ancestries as we go forward. The spreadsheets we use for our art orders are starting to get kind of wild, y'all. Like, I'm serious. Like, we have just all these spreadsheets. I saw what Dustin, our teammate, who's not with us today, but in chat and in spirit, we love you, Dustin. He had this like huge, like all of these columns and of like every ancestry that we currently have, including ones I can't talk about yet, and just making sure that he ordered art of every single one of them in this book he was working on, which I also can't talk about, but it's really cool. So that is the level of care that is going into this to make sure we give you options. And because we have so many, that means that, you know, we may only have a few options for some of the weirder ones, but hey, your friendly neighborhood artist is probably looking for a commission. There's one thing, and we do have lots of really cool first edition art in first edition books that are still relevant lore wise. So make sure to check those out for your adventures in space. All right, so we have Kizar coming out. Guilt of the Grave World has playable ancestries as well that are brand new. Specifically, it has a Librian, which are a humanoid. I talked about them a bit in the keynote if you tuned in for that, but they're kind of a human-like ancestry with enlarged craniums. They're very magically talented, but in later years, they've learned to turn their talent for magic more into like a flair for the dramatic and the theater, because most of them these days, unfortunately, do live in the halls of the living, which is a preserve that is a place where they're eternally filmed as part of reality shows, which are then, produced by Zone Media. But it's okay because, like I also said in the keynote, they do have a union, and it's not just them down there. There's all kinds of people trying to go to the halls of the living and get famous, but you can play as one of them, which is really cool. And you can also play as a versatile heritage corpse folk. So if you want to take the grave part of that grave world seriously, that is your option there, is another playable undead. There you go. For all your necromancy needs. All right. Was there anything I missed in those adventures that y'all can think of or that you want to talk about? Going once. Going twice.
You'll just have to play to find out.
You'll just have to play to find out. Exactly. All right. Well, we're not just here to talk strictly about published adventures. There are a lot of those coming, and there's even more coming that I can't talk about just yet, but like some of the ideas we have and that our freelancers are coming up with, oh my gosh, like they're so good. Just stay tuned. Starfinder Second Edition, though I am biased, is going to be pretty cool in the adventure department. Now, when you're playing these adventures, you might want something that gives you a little more immersion, or maybe, you know what always happens is that you have a gaming group and somebody can't make it to the game. And then you don't want to play because you don't have your full party, or you don't want them to miss anything because it's going to be a really lore-heavy session, or it's going to be like the final encounter of the Adventure Path chapter, and you're like, oh, what do I do? So usually that becomes like a canceled game or a board game night, right? Well, we want you to have some other options. So we have a super cool product coming out by Paizo Games, Starfinder Infinity Deck. And this actually, I have a minor correction to make in the keynote. We slipped and said it was by Jason Bowman and Joe Passini. Jason Bowman did a lot of development work on it, but it was actually Joe Passini and Jason Keeley who designed the game. So all three of them have deserve a credit in bringing this awesome game to life that honestly we have needed for so long. So deep lore time. Yeah, too many Jasons. Oops, all Jasons. And a Joe. Okay, and a Joe. Don't forget. The J Squad lives. So yeah. So basically, Jason and Joe have had this idea for years. Like, I think since probably when Starfinder 1E came out, probably before that. Like, I know it was since first edition that they have wanted to have a card game that you could use maybe to play different games. And it would be a tie-in that would exist in the Starfinder universe or just be Starfinder themed. And this is something they've been really wanting to do. And ever since Paizo Games really took off, they got the time to do that. So what we're bringing to you is a deck of 65 suited playing cards. These have really cool little suits on them of like planets and suns that you can play 20 to 30 minute games with 1 to 5 players. And we've got instructions for 4 different games, as well as abilities to play future ones. We might even introduce some new ones in the future, but this allows you to play any card game that you already know using a suited card, deck. But it also teaches you 4 new Starfinder themed games. We have Absalom Ante, which is speaking of the casino, this is one that will come in real handy if you're playing Murder in Metal City and you want to do a real immersive casino scene. You can actually just like have your players grab the Infinity deck and play Absalom Ante with you or against each other. You can even use that for like initiative. It's pretty cool. There's a couple other games too. There's Salvage, where you scour through the wreck of a starship to collect salvage worth the most points. It's a set collection game. So all of this with just, little numbered suit cards, but I promise it works. It's really fun. And then we have Mercenary, which is travel a solar system to find and complete mercenary contacts, trying to earn more creds than your opponents. It's a memory and trading game. And then the last game that we've got rules for currently is Contraband, which is kind of a social bluffing game where you try to read your opponent by sneaking contraband past them or catching them in the act of smuggling. So yeah, it's a pretty cool little thing that we hope you can do to, literally simulate your player characters having downtime together and playing cards or going to the casino or the bar. And the cool part is this item is in player core. Here, there's some great art of that right here. Some inspiration for you. In player core, there is an item called Infinity Deck, and it has an explanation of the item. It was originally a mysterious deck of cards that appeared after the gap, and people decided to start using it to try to learn to play games together and use that to kind of get to know each other again, rebuild the community, really, piece together who they were and what their culture was really like before this really disruptive event happened and stole away some of their memories. And in the process, they came up with new games together. Someone had the bright idea of mass producing the deck and distributing them for sale, and now they're everywhere. They're super cheap. Many aliens have used these in First Contact to get to know each other and kind of like ease the tension. So definitely check these out. You can own your own piece of Starfinder lore for real, and it is literally in the book. It's really cool. And we have plans maybe to do some more future stuff with Starfinder Infinity Deck. So keep an eye out for that. All right. I think we're getting pretty close to time, but we may have, let's see if we have any audience questions collected. I haven't checked this out yet.
Yeah, questions.
Yeah, let's do a few minutes for questions since we're getting close to the time. Let's see. All right. First up from Jeremy Corp, we have, what does a bar on Avalon serve?
There's a fun description of like a whole 4-course meal that you can have actually in Murder in Metal City, as I recall. And of course the patron isn't, or the owner of the bar that you go to at the beginning is an android, and of course all of the customers are all kinds of different robots and androids and anacytes, and There's some Barathus there who are like hanging out outside, like enjoying some of the atmosphere, and all kinds of things have to be served at a place like that, right? But if you imagine the city of Striving is like one of, if not the most technologically advanced places in the Pact Worlds, they have the ability to get it done. You like order from these little computer things, and then like little conveyor things come out and serve your stuff to you, and it's really I love the descriptive elements that you included in that scene. And yes, there is food that is talked about.
Yes. So you can actually find out for yourself. And of course, it's your game. So you can always improv and you can always world build a little bit homebrew. We love that. And tell us about that. Tell us in the forums. Okay. Next up on EOX. So the art that we showed earlier, I don't know who asked, but somebody asked if it was lava flowing down the pillar on EOX. And I don't have the art in front of my face right this second, but it probably was. Yes. I would imagine it probably was. EOX is not a fun place to be. A little bit of this is known. I'll kind of skirt the spoilers here, but many years ago, EOX kind of messed up their own planet really bad. A lot of people think this is like history that has been like largely lost to time, but it may have been an attack that they launched on another planet. That's what a lot of people think it was. And yes, that is what it was. They launched an attack on another planet and they ruined their atmosphere, completely irradiated their planet, killed many of their people. Many others were just stranded in shelters, but in an ultimately unlivable environment. And later, EOX became the grave world of undead because that is how they decided they could survive this cataclysm. So you can find out a lot more about EOX and the really messed up, scary stuff on its surface if you play or read Guild of the Grave World. Okay. Next up is Torridon341 asks, will there be ancestors? You know what? This is not an adventure question, but I'll ask it anyway because we were talking about ancestries. Will there be ancestries in Alien Core?
Ancestries are not in Alien Core. No, that book does not have playable player character ancestries in it. We just crammed as many bugs and robots into that thing as we could.
Bugs, robots,
and dragons, and we'll talk more about Alien Core later, I'm sure. But yeah.
All right. Speaking of ancestries, I've got one for Jessica. Jessica, can you briefly share? Do you want to share a little bit with us about Ikeshti and kind of how they're like shifting? They've shifted a little bit.
Yeah, so Ikeshti's in Starfinder First Edition, when they have trouble finding a mate sometimes, they would turn into like these big, they'd grow in size, they'd become angry, they'd lose themselves to anger, they'd pretty much turn into monsters called a Rivener state. So going forward into Second Edition, I have always loved Ikeshti's, but that's not really where we want to be bringing our ancestries. And, so we've had a little bit of, the Ikeshti's have had some counseling. So Ikeshti's coming into Second Edition are passionate. They experience intense emotions of all kinds. And these are in turn magnified by stress and danger. So many Ikeshti's kind of have difficulty processing their emotions in a healthy way. So modern Ikeshti's have learned from a young age to kind of confront and embrace that, not ignore or shut down those kinds of emotions. And they tend to like develop routines and behaviors to help them de-stress or center themselves and things like that. Find community members to confide in and things. So most Ikeshti's tend to be pretty mercurial. They do experience frequent mood swings. And when they are emotionally strained or overwhelmed or frustrated, they are prone to exhibit outbursts of sadness and aggression and things like that. So they do have a reputation for being hot-headed and temperamental and stuff like that. However, an Ikeshti who does completely lose their cool does still grow in size and temporarily become a Rivener. They've just become overtaken by whatever emotion they have and things like that. This is called the Rivener snake. It is the equivalent of a toddler throwing a temper tantrum and just total meltdown. How embarrassing. They should have known better. But some Akeshtis have gained kind of like, they've really come to know themselves well and can control their emotions well. So you can take feats that let you purposefully enter a Rivener state without losing your mental facilities or anything like that. So you can enter a Rivener state, grow to big, large size, you become extra strong and stuff like that. There's some feats based on that, and it's really fun. But we had a lot of, I think, recasting Akeshtis a little bit was a challenge, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Akeshtis are one of the few things that we did think needed a bit of a lore remaster. We've been pretty light on that. Like, we've been wanting to like update and like add to the lore rather than change and retcon it. Obviously, there's a few things we did have to change up a little bit, like a species known as Azranaran elves, some purple-skinned elves on Apostate that used to be called Drow, maybe. But these are one of the few things that we just really thought, like, you know what, this idea is really cool, but it's the way it played out at a lot of tables got kind of creepy. So we were like, you know what? Let's just change it a little bit. We love the idea, and just the recast made it so much better. It's really cool. So the answer for Dire Five's question is that yes and no, because it was, do they still kind of go bonkers when they hit maturity? And so we have recast that a little bit, but it's still fun. Another question from Harold Wishmeyer is, do Anacytes still not have souls? And the answer is no, they do not. That is something that separates them from SROs, sentient robotic organisms, which the same person also asked about in chat. I see you're into machines like I am. They're pretty neat. We do have plans for SROs coming out. Don't worry. You're going to get your playable little robots. But with Anacytes, we wanted something that set them apart. And we thought the lack of a soul was really interesting. And in a game where a soul is not just your literal animating force, but it's literally tied to a divine cycle that you know, like empirically exists in the world. And it's like, you know, you have Pharasma's spiral and Pharasma's boneyard, and she has a recycling system essentially for souls. But this essentially, the choice to not give them a soul means that they exist outside of that, because they were actually created by the first ones, who are still very mysterious. And we're maybe, Jeremy Core, if you asked, maybe we're going to reveal a little bit about them in Guilt of the Grave World, but also, or sorry, not Guilt of the Grave World, in Murder in Metal City. But we also have plans to talk more about their creations in SFS, so stick around. But they do not have souls. However, they do have free will. And they tend to be more mechanical and not have as many emotions. However, some of them do enjoy emotion and try to process it and, you know, do what they can to try to like understand that and experience that. But that's just something that sets them apart. So good question. That's an interesting one. All right, what else do we have here? I answered a 2. That was like a 3-fer, I think. Excellent. All right, where in the galaxy is the planet Arshalin located? Jessica, do you off the top of your head, for the world shards of Arshalin, do you want to talk about that one at all? Because that was something you did right for Galaxy Guide.
Yes, I did. Let me talk slowly and try to dredge up distant memories here. The world shards of Arshalin are, I swear they're in the vast.
I think they're in the vast. I'm pretty sure it's in Galaxy Guide. Yeah,
massive megalithic high-tech ruins on this planet that you can go in and go explore. The current first seeker for the Starfinder Society has an interest in the world shards of Arshalin, as well as obviously the first ones, which we're touching on this season. So if you are interested in them, that is something that you can probably see in future seasons of the Starfinder Society.
Yeah. Sounds like we're probably going to have some adventures there in the future for sure. All right. I've got a few more here too that we'll try to get through. Friendly Mammal says, is Dimalco in the new Galaxy Guide? And yes, there are some name drops for Dimalco. It does not get a big section because we just had a big bash with Dimalco in the Adventure Path Mechageddon. It is a Starfinder First Edition adventure path for those who aren't familiar, but it is really fun. It is something that I dearly hope that one day people convert to Second Edition. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, infinite people. I don't know. I'm just saying you could try. Although we are going to need mech rules for that, so it's probably going to be some time before we all get there. But it does. It just got a lot of time in the spotlight. But we definitely do want to go back to Dimalco. It's a very fun world. So there are some name drops for it in the new books. So look out for that. F4 Luck from Europe, and sorry if I said your name wrong, asks from Europe, and hi in Europe. I'm sorry. Are we going to have these boxes in PDF? I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. So we obviously can't give you a physical box in PDF, although, you know what? I bet you could get real creative with a 3D printer. But yes, we are going to have PDF versions of everything. We are going to actually have Foundry modules for everything. If you are in Europe or just like in the not necessarily having big old books club, or you like Foundry, we do have mods on Foundry for all of these books. Galaxy Guide especially is a really good one to pick up a Foundry mod for, because it is going to have that really awesome map that we keep seeing in the background, the Galaxy and Pack Worlds map. As part of the module, Murder and Metal City will have all of the pre-gens, all of the handouts that we were talking about will all be in digital form included in that module and as a PDF. So we've got you covered if you're not going to order the physical book right now. All right. Let's see. What else do we have? Let's see. Gaming Torden, and also thank you for subscribing, says, will there be longer adventures, or is Murder in Metal City and Guilt of the Grave World indicative of what we should expect lengthwise in SF2? So, Mike, did you have something to say? Because you had a vocal reaction.
How have we said how long Guilt of the Grave World is? How many pages is that one?
Guilt of the Grave World. Oh my goodness, I would have to look. I don't know it off the top of my head.
I know we're working so far in advance of all this stuff that it's hard to remember. Yeah, we got some stuff planned. Definitely. So Murder in Metal City is a 64-page adventure. We have stuff that's much longer than that.
Guilt of the Grave World is 128 pages.
Okay, so yes.
There we go.
I'll just say yes. We have stuff planned that's going to be bigger than that. Yes. I'm not going to talk about it.
we have stuff. Yeah, we have some shorter adventures. We have medium and longer. And I will say too, we can't really talk about it at this time. But if you want to see more Starfinder adventures and longer Starfinder adventures, I hate to shill, but the best way is to go ahead and buy some Starfinder adventures. So consider that Starfinder Adventure subscription, or just check it out. We'll be there at Gen Con selling a lot of these, like our first batch. We're going to be, we've got, of course, right now, PaizoCon has Galaxy Guide already for sale. So yeah, keep an eye out on Paizo.com, and we'll have more for you. All right, I think we're going to have to cut it off now because our time is at an end. But if you do, I know. So sad. But anyway, thank you so much for being here, chat. Really appreciate your hype for Starfinder 2. And don't forget, you can come hang out with us in Discord. I think we all have an AMA in there. Is that correct?
Yep.
Come find Mike and Jessica in their AMA, and me as well. I'm going to be down in Discord for the Starfinder live play. I'm going to do a little watch party down in the Space Princess Stadium channel. So if you want to join me, I'll be setting that up in just a few minutes. Because yeah, if you want to watch that and hang out, and then I'll see y'all tomorrow as well. We'll be back for yet another panel. Anyway, enjoy your PaizoCon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.